Today I'm going to show you how I made these cards using the Simon Says Stamp Happy Hauntings stamp set. I'll show you the set that I used. It's called Happy Hauntings, and it's all of these little dragons, and in each stamp he's doing something a little different, riding a broom, carrying the scary pumpkin, and there's a spider web I use, and all these really cute sentiments. Which Way to the Candy, Happy Hauntings, which is the name of the set. It's a treat to know you. So I think this would make cute Halloween cards or even tags that you could put on little bags of candy that you give away or to somebody special, your neighbor or whatever. But I colored all the images using Copic markers. And then I also clear heat emboss the images so that when I fussy cut them, they were a little bit sturdier. The other item I used from Simon Says Stamp is an old one. It's called Arched French Doors. It was from last December, and I used this a few times. So if you're interested in seeing a few other ways I used this last December, it's on my Instagram at Susan B Cards. So to start with, I'm going to die cut this arched French door on a piece of A2 size craft cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I just lined it up using this L ruler just to be sure it's straight. Placed it right in the center. I left a little bit of room because that's where I'm going to stamp my sentiment, probably at the top here. And just kept that secure, and I'm going to go and die cut that. I'll be right back. So I die cut all these little squares. And now you have a door. And you can, there's a little bit of a fold line here. And you can burnish it if you want. And the doors can look open. Or you could leave them just fairly closed. Also, it cuts out the little doorknobs, and I used some old gems, and I just put them as doorknobs on the cards. So I have a piece of white cardstock in my MISTI, and I decided to use this image here. I've used the other ones for my other cards, so this is the last one, and it's just this cute little dragon holding the scary pumpkin. Using Tuxedo Black Memento ink. I'm going to stamp this a couple times. And it's important to let this dry before you start coloring it. It doesn't take very long, but this ink is Copic safe. Whereas if you use some of the other inks, they might smear. This one doesn't. So that's pretty good. I'm going to just let that sit for a minute, and I'll be right back. So next I put my black card base into my Misty, and I just put the arch doors panel right on top just to get an idea of where I want to put the spider web. It's the spider web from the set here. I kind of place it underneath to kind of see where it's going to end up. So that's kind of in the corner. And I haven't glued this down yet, so I just wanted to see what it would look like. Before I stamp it, I'm just going to put a little bit of embossing powder on there. I'm going to end up using some clear embossing powder on the stamped image just so that it shines just a little bit. So I'm inking up the stamp with this Encore Ultimate Metallic Silver ink. It's a pigment ink. This is going to show up on the black pretty well. I think I'll just stamp it one more time. Looks pretty good. I bought this ultra thick embossing powder from Michael's on clearance. Never used it before. I thought it was just going to be regular white, and clear, but it ended up being super chunky. I mean, you can see it almost looks like rock candy glitter. So just going to put a little bit on there. It's pretty chunky. So the other thing about this is that it's pretty heavy, so it doesn't stick very well. Try to start by heating it from the back first, just to prevent it from flying all over the place. Put that away real quick. It's just a little bit. It looks like water droplets, actually. Might be a good thing to use sometime for water, but it's not a very thin, regular, clear embossing powder. So that is pretty much all I'm going to do with the black. I'm going to stamp the sentiment on the front of the arch dies. So it's going to be like this. So I stamped the sentiment onto the panel, and now I'm going to take a little bit of Gathered Twigs Distress ink, and I'm just going to lightly ink the edges. I think it gives it a little bit of a warmer look. Next, I'm going to put some clear embossing powder on the fussy cut image. And the way that I do it is I just take a Versamark ink pad and an old acrylic block and kind of press it into the pad. I've also done this the other way, where I stamp the image and color it and then clear emboss it before fussy cutting it on the paper, which is easy too. It's easier to put the ink onto a larger piece, but this isn't so bad. So this is just clear embossing powder. I'm almost out. I have to get some more. Yesterday, I was looking at the image as I was heating it and accidentally pointed the embossing powder gun into this container and it flew everywhere. So pay attention to what you're doing. Try to pick it up by a corner. It looks pretty well covered. I don't want to get too much on my tweezers, but tap a little bit of it off. Cover that. And now I'm going to heat it. I had to take off the little gemstone that I had placed as the other doorknob because it was underneath the pumpkin and I didn't want the pumpkin to get a little mark in it if it was mailed. So I glued it all down, and then I was just using this old acrylic block to hold it in place just to be sure it dries flat. But here's my card. Somewhat inside, somewhat outside. Hey pumpkin, it's a treat to know you. And then on the inside, I used another one of the stamps, and it says Happy Halloween. And then my own stamp on the back. That's it.